If you thought Hollywood gangster movies had captured the full brutality of the underworld, Sylvia Nunn's real-life story will send chills down your spine. From a girl born into a relatively affluent family in Compton to becoming one of the most notorious female gangsters known as Rambo, Sylvia navigated a childhood steeped in violence, unrelenting loss, and a journey toward faith after a life of bloodshed. This isn't just a tale of gang life. It's a mirror reflecting the turbulent social landscape of America from the 1970s to the 1990s. The rise of the Bloods and Crips, the crack cocaine epidemic, senseless deaths, and the flicker of hope amidst darkness. If this story captivates you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, so more people can learn about this journey of blood and tears. Sylvia Nunn was born in 1962 in Compton, California, a place undergoing drastic changes at the time. Her family, part of the African-American middle class, included her father, Willie Nunn, a professional boxer. They moved to East Compton in the late 1950s, hoping for a fresh start. But their new home was, unbeknownst to them, in the heart of Luatas Park, Peru territory, a branch of the Bloods gang. Sylvia's childhood was unlike that of most kids. While other girls were taught homemaking skills, Sylvia's father trained her to use guns, defend herself, and fight. Her mother, instead of fostering a peaceful home, instilled survival skills for a gang-infested environment. Meanwhile, her older brother Marcus, nicknamed China Dog, was one of the founding members of the Luatas Park Piru, the gang that controlled their neighborhood. By the 1970s, Compton had become a hotbed of gang violence. Shootouts, retaliations, and drive-by shootings were commonplace. For Sylvia, seeing guns and dead bodies was no longer shocking. As a teenager, she understood one truth. To survive, you had to be tougher than the rest. The first turning point came in 1973 when her father was arrested for drug possession and sent to prison. The family lost its anchor, leaving Sylvia and her siblings vulnerable in a dangerous Compton. At just 11 years old, Sylvia began to feel herself slipping into darkness. In 1978, at age 16, Sylvia's life took another dark turn when her brother Marcus was shot by a member of the rival Crips gang in a retaliation hit. Though Marcus survived, the incident ignited something in Sylvia. She decided to join the Luatas Park Piru, officially stepping into the gangster world to carry on her brother's blood-soaked fight. From that moment, there was no turning back. Once in the gang, Sylvia quickly proved she was no less capable than any man. She wielded guns, took part in robberies, and even faced off with police. In one instance, while defending her mother from police harassment, Sylvia's ferocity led an officer to dub her Rambo. The nickname stuck, a badge of pride and a mark that made her feared by both allies and enemies. In the 1980s, as the crack cocaine epidemic swept through Compton, Sylvia wasn't spared its grip. She both used and dealt drugs, diving deeper into violent retaliations and drive-by shootings. Crack hardened her, stripping away guilt or fear. In July 1991, another tragedy struck. Her second brother, Junior Nunn, who had stayed clear of gang life, was gunned down. The loss drove Sylvia to a breaking point. Disguising herself as a man and carrying her father's gun, she scoured Compton, hunting down those responsible for Junior's death. This period cemented her reputation as a fearsome gangster, terrifying both foes and friends. But later that year, Sylvia was arrested. Facing a heavy sentence, she chose to cooperate with the police, providing information on the Luatas Park Piru's drug operations. Still, this didn't stop her from continuing her violent rampage for a time after Junior's death. In 1993, Sylvia left Compton for Las Vegas, Nevada, seeking a fresh start. 2 years later, she married John Hardman, a former sheriff, changed her name to Sylvia Hardman, and slowly distanced herself from her past. She converted to Christianity, joined a Baptist church, and repeatedly declared, "I left the Piru for Jesus." Sylvia's life became a media focal point. In 2008, she appeared on the History Channel's Gangland episode From Girl to Gangster, sharing the dangers of women in gang life. She emphasized that women were often underestimated by police, making them some of the most unpredictable threats. But just 2 years later, on April 20th, 2010, Sylvia passed away and was laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery in Las Vegas. After her death, her sister Cynthia Nunn founded the Sylvia Nunn Angels, a non-profit in Compton aimed at helping kids escape the gang life, a positive continuation of Sylvia's legacy. When Sylvia joined the Luatas Park Piru, she faced an immediate challenge: proving herself. This wasn't just any street gang, it was a tight-knit group bound by blood, loyalty, and violence. In that world, women had little standing. They were typically relegated to the sidelines, girlfriends, drug mules, or decoys for criminal operations. But Sylvia was different. Trained in combat by her father and raised alongside her brothers, Sylvia was tough from the start. She refused to stay in the background, demanding to participate in petty robberies, retaliations, and even intense shootouts. In one gas station robbery, while her crew hesitated, Sylvia drew her gun, took control, and forced everyone to recognize her audacity. What set Sylvia apart wasn't just her skills, but her cold calculation. Unlike many male gang members prone to impulsive rage, she knew when to strike and when to observe quietly. This made her one of the most formidable members of the gang. Her Rambo nickname added to her legend. During a confrontation with police harassing her family, Sylvia stood her ground. An officer's offhand remark, calling her Rambo after the iconic action movie character, spread quickly in the streets. Rather than taking offense, Sylvia embraced it, turning the name into a symbol of her unyielding spirit. The 1980s crack epidemic turned Compton into chaos. Crack wasn't just a lucrative drug, it was a tool for control. Gangs used it to expand their influence, dragging countless youths into addiction. The Luatas Park Piru was no exception, and Sylvia became a key player. Unlike many women limited to transporting drugs, Sylvia was directly involved in distribution and turf protection. Her boldness earned her the trust of senior members, but crack also eroded her psyche, numbing her to life and death. In drive-by shootings, she pulled the trigger without hesitation, seeing it as just another day in Compton. Interestingly, rap music became a cultural thread in this brutal world. The Luatas Park Piru had ties to Death Row Records, the infamous label run by Suge Knight. Piru members served as bodyguards and enforcers during the golden era of gangster rap. For Sylvia, this showed how street culture was entering the mainstream, but as art. Rap lyrics about blood, guns, brotherhood, and betrayal echoed the daily realities of her life. The gang world wasn't just about violence. It involved a complex web of alliances and rivalries. The Luatas Park Piru was linked to other Piru sets like Elm Street and Lime Hood, but faced enemies from Compton's Crips to Latino Sereno gangs. Sylvia fought as fiercely as any man, defending territory and sometimes leading the charge. Her audacity made her a unique figure, a woman wielding a gun, commanding respect in a male-dominated organization. But it also made her a target. Rivals saw her not just as a gangster, but as an insult, a woman daring to stand equal to men. This fueled increasingly bloody battles. During this time, Compton saw a surge in violence. A wrong look, a stray word, or even the wrong clothing color could spark a killing. Sylvia had little choice but to dive deeper into the chaos. She was both a product of her environment and a force perpetuating its deadly cycle. To fully grasp Sylvia's life, one must understand Compton in the 1970s and 1980s. Once a hopeful destination for African American families post-World War II, Compton became a hub of poverty, racism, and violence within decades. Neglected by authorities, with factories closing and unemployment soaring, young people saw no future in schools or jobs. Gangs became their only career path. In this environment, the Bloods and Crips rose as dominant forces, controlling daily life. Joining a gang wasn't just about money, it was about protection and identity. For Sylvia, Growing up in this crucible left her with few options: become a victim or pick up a gun. She chose the latter. Sylvia's story stands out because of her gender. In the gangster world, men ruled. Women were typically confined to supporting roles, hiding drugs, stashing weapons, or acting as decoys. Few women fought on the front lines, and even fewer earned the respect of male gang members. Sylvia shattered that mold. Her Rambo nickname wasn't just a label. It was a declaration of power equality through violence. She proved women could be as ruthless as men in a brutal world. Yet this was also a tragedy. Instead of being given opportunities to thrive, Sylvia had to use bloodshed to prove her worth. Culturally, Sylvia's story ties into the deep connection between gangs and gangster rap. As Death Row Records dominated the 1990s with artists like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac, Bloods and Piru members like Sylvia worked behind the scenes. Rap wasn't just music, it was the street's newsreel, chronicling the losses, blood, betrayals, and loyalty Sylvia lived through. Tupac's 1996 death highlighted how blurred the line between rap and gang life had become. Yet Sylvia's story shines brightest in her transformation. Leaving Compton for Las Vegas, she realized she couldn't stay in the cycle of violence forever. Marrying John Hardman, a former sheriff, symbolized reconciliation with the law. Her conversion to Christianity and declaration, "I left the pyro for Jesus," showed that even a notorious gangster could rediscover humanity. Still, the past wasn't easily erased. In her 2008 Gangland appearance, Sylvia was both a living witness and a cautionary tale. She noted that women in gangs were often underestimated, making them uniquely dangerous. Her words weren't just for TV audiences. They were a confession and a message to future generations. Don't follow my path. Sylvia's death in 2010 at age 48 closed a turbulent life. But her legacy lived on through her sister Cynthia's Sylvia Nun Angels, a non-profit dedicated to steering Compton's youth away from gangs, the path that had consumed Sylvia's youth. Looking broadly, Sylvia Nun symbolizes a generation raised in Compton, a city of guns, drugs, and rap, where every day could be your last. They were products of social injustice, poverty, and systemic neglect, yet also people capable of love, loyalty, and a desire for respect. Sylvia's story isn't just one woman's. It reflects an era in American history. Above all, her journey from street Rambo to devout Christian underscores a truth: people can change. No one is born a gangster. Environment, circumstances, and tragedies pushed Sylvia into a life of violence, but in the end, her choices led her to faith and a lasting legacy. Today, Sylvia Nun is remembered not just as a notorious Compton gangster, but as proof that redemption is possible. Her story resonates not only in the African American community, but with anyone who's faced darkness in their life. In conclusion, Sylvia Nun's life is a movie that needs no director. It has a childhood surrounded by gangs, the explosion of violence and drugs, the tragedy of loss, and ultimately, redemption. This isn't just a story to retell. It's a lesson for a generation. Even in the harshest environments, there's always another path. If you believe this story deserves to be heard, please like, subscribe, and share. So Sylvia Nun's message doesn't stay in the past, but inspires the present and future.